The mediator slides the settlement agreement across the table, and my old boss actually laughs. One sharp, ugly sound, like this is still a meeting he's running. His lawyer grabs his wrist under the table, hard enough that I see the skin go white. "Sign," the mediator says, calm like he's ordering coffee. My boss's jaw tightens. Then he looks straight at my stomach like he's trying to blame my baby for what's happening. "This is extortion," he mutters, too loud. My lawyer doesn't even look up. She taps the page with her pen. "Page 9, she says. "The part where you fired her for being pregnant. In writing." The room goes quiet for half a second, and I swear I can hear the air conditioner wheeze. Then the mediator's assistant opens the door without knocking and whispers, "There are reporters in the lobby again." I don't even get a second to breathe, because the conference room landline starts ringing like it's possessed. And the receptionist outside keeps saying, "I'm sorry, she can't take calls." Over and over, voice higher each time. My laptop is open in front of me, and emails are stacking so fast the subject lines blur. Urgent. Comment request. Channel 7 wants a quote. Fair work. Media inquiry. Ari, your case is trending. My lawyer's assistant cracks the door and quietly shoves printed screenshots onto the table, like evidence in a crime show. My boss's email, the one with the subject line, "Your pregnancy is a business issue," is everywhere. Someone has highlighted the sentence where he wrote, "We can't have you waddling around scaring clients." I feel my hands go cold. Across from me, he sees the printouts too, and his face does this tiny flicker, anger, fear, calculation, like he's trying to decide which emotion will save him fastest. My smartwatch keeps lighting up with message previews I don't even want to read. My family group chat, the one I muted years ago because it's 90% gossip and 10% guilt, is melting down. Cousins I haven't spoken to in ages are suddenly typing like their rent depends on it. My mother is calling through different numbers, like she's trying to brute force her way into my life. My dad's name appears, then disappears, then appears again. I can already hear his future voice in my head. "We supported you. We always supported you." My stomach turns because I remember exactly what he said when I got fired. I remember where he was sitting. I remember the look on his face like my humiliation was an inconvenience to his afternoon. The mediator says, "We're not leaving this room until we have signatures." And my boss pushes his chair back so hard it scrapes. "I'm not paying her to be dramatic," he snaps, and his lawyer hisses, "Graham, shut up." I almost laugh, but it comes out as a cough because my throat is tight. My lawyer leans toward me without looking at him and whispers, "Do not react. Let him perform. She's right, and I hate that she's right." The door opens again, and my former HR manager slips in, eyes darting around like she's terrified of being recognized. She won't meet my gaze. She drops a folder on the table, company letterhead, and says, "We need you to sign the confidentiality clause." My lawyer says, "No." HR blinks. "It's standard." My lawyer's voice stays flat. "Then it'll be standard for her to refuse." Outside the building, someone has already posted a photo of me walking in with my lawyer this morning. It's on the lobby TV now. Silent footage looping, like I'm a celebrity for the worst reason. My boss's PR consultant is in the hallway, pacing, whisper yelling into a headset. Every few seconds, the landline rings again. My laptop pings again. A journalist has found my old LinkedIn profile photo and slapped, "Fired for being pregnant," under it like a headline. Another email comes in from a former coworker. "I'm so sorry. He's spiraling. He's telling everyone you tricked him. Another ping. My mother, again, in all caps. Answer me right now. Another ping. My dad, call your mother. This is embarrassing. Then the humiliating part hits. The part that makes my skin crawl. Because someone drags up a screenshot from 2 years ago. It's my boss in our work group chat, replying to a joke someone made about maternity leave. I had tried to laugh it off at the time because I needed my paycheck. His message is right there, time-stamped, with his stupid thumbs-up emoji. If you can get pregnant, you can get replaced. It's spreading faster than the news article. People are quote tweeting it with disgust. People are tagging the company's clients. People are tagging his wife. My boss's lawyer looks at the screen over his shoulder and goes pale. My boss sees the reflection of it in the glass, and the bravado drains out of him so fast it's almost satisfying. Almost. I look down at the agreement in front of me. My lawyer's pen is poised. HR is still hovering with the confidentiality page like a bribe. The mediator clears his throat. So, he says, is confidentiality a deal-breaker? My lawyer looks at me, just for a second, because this is the moment where I either get bought quiet, or I don't, and something in me goes solid. I'll sign confidentiality about the settlement amount, I say, voice steadier than I feel, but I won't sign anything that stops me from saying what happened to me. HR opens her mouth. My boss starts to speak. My lawyer cuts in, sharp. She's allowed to state factual events. You know that. You tried to gag her because you're scared of your own emails. I slide the confidentiality page back across the table, like it's dirty. And, I add, because I'm done being polite, I want a neutral reference letter in writing today. No terminated for performance. No vague, not a cultural fit. Neutral. My boss's lawyer pinches the bridge of his nose like he's praying for mercy. My boss finally looks at me, like he remembers I'm a person. You're doing this to ruin me, he says. I don't even blink. No, I say. You did that part yourself. To understand why this feels unreal, you need to know what my parents were saying about me before today. I got pregnant last year on purpose. Like, shockingly, responsibly, on purpose. My husband Daniel and I had the spreadsheets, the savings goal, the Are We Ready talks that make you feel 90 years old. I was 30. I had a stable job at a mid-sized marketing company in Sydney, and I'd just been promoted to account coordinator. I wasn't naive enough to think pregnancy would be easy, but I was naive enough to believe my workplace would act like a workplace, not a high school with invoices. My boss, Graham, loved calling himself a family man. He had framed photos of his kids all over his office, and would do this smug little thing where he'd say, I'm basically a dad to this whole team, whenever someone stayed late. Everyone laughed because he signed the paychecks. HR laughed because HR always laughs at the CEO. I laughed because I liked paying my mortgage. When I told him I was pregnant, I did it the right way. I booked a meeting. I brought a plan. I literally had a 1-page dot-point document like a nerd. Timeline, coverage options, handover strategy. I was proud of myself for being organized. Graham scanned the page like it was a receipt he didn't want to pay for. Then he leaned back and said, So, how long are you going to be a problem? I remember freezing because I genuinely thought I misheard him. A problem, I repeated, trying to keep my voice light. He smiled like I was being sensitive. You know what I mean. We're busy. Clients don't like disruption. I went home and told Daniel. and he stared at me like I'd told him our landlord hated babies. "That's illegal," he said instantly. I laughed, an actual nervous laugh, because it felt dramatic to call it illegal. That was my first mistake. Thinking the word illegal only applies when someone is cartoonishly evil. Sometimes it's just a guy in a button-up acting like your uterus is a scheduling conflict. At first, Graham did it quietly. He stopped inviting me to client meetings, so you can rest. He started CCing other people on emails I'd always handled. He'd make jokes in the open office. "Don't lift that. We don't want another maternity claim." And people would chuckle in that awkward way where nobody wants to be the person who ruins the vibe. I told myself to be professional. I told myself to document things. I told myself maybe he'd settle once he got used to it. Then the nausea hit me like a truck, and suddenly, I was the perfect target. If I ran to the bathroom, I'd come back to Graham standing near my desk saying, "See? This is what I mean." If I asked to work from home one day, because I couldn't stop vomiting, he'd reply, "Pregnancy isn't an illness, Mara," as if vomiting on my keyboard would be more productive. I told my mum because I needed someone older to tell me I wasn't crazy. She didn't comfort me. She sighed and said, "Men don't like complications. Just keep your head down." My dad's reaction was worse. He said, "Why did you get pregnant when you just got promoted?" Like I'd done it to spite my boss. Like my life was supposed to pause until Graham gave permission. The first time I thought I might actually lose my job, it was because Graham called me into his office and said, "We need someone who can commit 100%. I said, "I can commit. I'm pregnant, not dying." He held up his hands like I was hysterical. "Don't get emotional. I'm trying to help you." Then he slid a document across the desk. An exit package. It was insulting. 2 weeks' pay, in exchange for me resigning voluntarily, signing confidentiality, and agreeing not to pursue any claim. The audacity of the paper made my face go hot. "I'm not resigning," I said. "Okay," he replied, too calm. "Then we'll have to manage performance." That's when the paper trail started. Suddenly I was getting feedback emails about things that had never been issues before. My tone, my responsiveness, my energy. He started writing sentences that felt designed to be read out loud in court later. "We've noticed a decline in your output." He moved my desk away from my team for focus. He gave my biggest client to a guy who'd been there 3 months. When I asked why, he said, "He doesn't have distractions." I started screenshotting everything. I felt paranoid, but I also felt like I was drowning, and screenshots were the only thing I could grab. The actual firing happened on a Wednesday morning when I was 13 weeks pregnant. Still in that stage where you're not obviously showing, but you're exhausted in your bones. HR sent me a calendar invite titled Quick Catch-Up with Graham and Sophie, People and Culture. I remember the words people and culture making me want to gag. Like, sure, let's talk about culture while you kick a pregnant woman out. In the meeting, Graham didn't even pretend. He said, "We're restructuring," and Sophie stared at the table like she was trying to mentally leave her body. I said, "Am I being made redundant?" Graham blinked like I was annoying him. "We're letting you go," I asked. "Why?" And he said, "It's not working." That's it. No explanation. No performance plan. Just not working. Then he added like an afterthought, "And honestly, with the pregnancy, it's just not practical." Sophie's head snapped up so fast I almost felt bad for her. "Graham," she started, voice panicked. He waved a hand. "Don't. I'm being honest." That line, with the pregnancy, was the moment I stopped shaking and started going numb. I remember my vision narrowing, like I was looking through a tunnel. I remember thinking, he just said it. He just said it out loud. I walked out of that meeting carrying a cardboard box HR had magically produced, like they'd been excited to use it. Someone from IT followed me to my desk and stood there while I packed, like I was going to steal a stapler. I wanted to scream, but my body wouldn't do it. I felt embarrassed for even existing. When I got to the car, I finally cried, hard, ugly, shaking. Daniel drove to the parking lot because I couldn't stop hyperventilating. He climbed into the passenger seat and held my face and said, "Listen to me. This isn't your fault." And I wanted to believe him, but my dad's voice was already in my head. Why did you get pregnant? That night, my parents came over to talk. My mom hugged me stiffly, like she was scared my sadness would rub off on her. My dad didn't hug me at all. He sat at our kitchen table and said, "So what did you do to make them fire you?" I stared at him, speechless. Daniel said, "They fired her because she's pregnant." My dad scoffed. "They can't do that." My mom said, "Maybe they didn't mean it that way." And I realized, in real time, that my parents weren't on my side. They were on the side of whatever story made them feel safe. The world is fair. Authority is right. Your pain must be your fault. For weeks, my mom kept saying, "Don't cause trouble. You're going to be a mother. Think about your baby." Like justice would poison my placenta. My dad said, "Just find another job." Like pregnancy discrimination is solved by optimism. Except I did try. I applied for roles and got polite rejections or no responses. Interviews would go well until someone asked, "When can you start?" And I'd have that split-second calculation. Lie, or tell the truth. If I told the truth, the energy changed. Not always blatantly. Just cooler, shorter, like I'd become a liability in their minds. Money got tight fast. Mortgage, bills, prenatal appointments. Daniel picked up extra shifts. I sold clothes online. I canceled subscriptions. I started mentally counting every dollar, like it was a heartbeat. And the whole time, Graham kept emailing little concerned notes, like we were still in a professional relationship. "We wish you well. Please remember your obligations regarding confidentiality." I hadn't signed anything. He just liked pretending he still controlled me. The lawyer happened because my friend Kira, bless her, wouldn't let it go. She said, "Come with me," and dragged me to a free legal clinic day. I walked in expecting someone to tell me, gently, that it would be hard to prove, that it would cost too much, that I should move on. Instead, the lawyer listened to my story, asked, "Do you have anything in writing?" And when I showed her Graham's email about my pregnancy being a business issue, her eyebrows went up like she'd found gold. "Okay," she said, "this is not subtle." Even then I hesitated, because suing your employer feels like stepping off a cliff. You worry you'll be labeled difficult. You worry about blacklisting. You worry about stress and pregnancy. You worry your parents will never stop saying, "I told you so." But then I remembered Graham's tone in that meeting. Casual, confident, like he'd done this before and gotten away with it. And I thought, if I let this slide, he'll do it again to someone else. Not in a heroic way, in a furious way, in a how dare you way. So we filed. A formal claim, paperwork, dates, evidence. The whole thing made me feel both powerful and nauseous. Graham responded by pretending he'd fired me for performance and culture fit. He submitted a statement about my reliability issues, which was hilarious because the only time I'd been unreliable was when I was vomiting from being pregnant, something he'd punished me for. HR backed him, of course. People always back the boss until it costs them. Then discovery happened, and the tone changed. Because you can't charm your way out of documents. My lawyer got internal emails where Graham called me a walking maternity leave. There was a message where he told HR, we should cut her before she starts showing. There was even an email chain with a client where he wrote, Mara is leaving soon. Personal reasons. Like my pregnancy was a shameful secret he was managing. When my lawyer showed me those emails, I felt physically sick. Not because I was surprised, because seeing it in black and white made it impossible to pretend I was overreacting. It made my parents, maybe they didn't mean it, look as stupid as it always was. The first conciliation meeting was supposed to be calm. It wasn't. Graham came in smirking, acting like he was doing me a favor by showing up. He called me emotional. He said, she's just looking for a payday. He told the conciliator, we're a small business. We can't accommodate special treatment. The conciliator kept saying, let's keep it respectful, and Graham kept ignoring it. At one point, he actually said, if she can get pregnant, she can get replaced. And my lawyer's pen paused mid-note, like even she couldn't believe someone would say that in a legal process. I started shaking. Daniel squeezed my hand under the table so hard it hurt, like he was anchoring me to reality. We didn't settle then. Graham refused. He wanted to fight. He thought he'd win. He thought I'd fold because I was pregnant and tired and broke. He thought wrong. The process dragged. My belly grew. I went to appointments and then went home to answer legal emails. I cried in the shower, so Daniel wouldn't see. I slept badly. I had moments where I thought, what if I lose? What if he ruins my reputation and I can't get hired? And then I'd remember how he looked at me in that meeting, like I was disposable, and the fear would turn back into determination. The worst part was my parents. They made it about themselves constantly. My mom would call and say, people are asking why you're in a legal dispute. It's embarrassing. My dad said, if you win, don't expect us to be involved in the drama. I said, involved? You haven't supported me at all. He replied, we supported you by telling you not to ruin your life. That was his idea of love. Warnings that sound like insults. Then my baby was born. Beautiful, loud, perfect. And for a few months the case faded into the background because newborn life is like being hit by a truck repeatedly. But the legal stuff didn't stop. It was always there, looming, waiting. And then, last week, everything blew up because Graham couldn't keep his mouth shut. A former co-worker leaked screenshots of his messages to a business networking group chat, where he was bragging about not letting pregnancy mess with profits. Someone posted them publicly. Clients saw. People got angry. The company tried to do damage control. Graham blamed hackers. It was pathetic. And suddenly the case wasn't just a private legal battle. It was a PR crisis. That's why today is happening. That's why there are reporters in the lobby, while I'm sitting across from the man who tried to erase my income, because my body did what bodies do. Which brings me back to the conference room, right now, with Graham sweating through his collar, and HR trying to force paper into my hands, like the paper will fix what he did. The thing that makes me laugh, darkly, quietly, is that my parents are suddenly very interested. The second the news went public, my mom started calling like we were close. My dad texted, "Proud of you," like he didn't spend a year implying I deserved it. My aunt posted on Facebook, "Family is everything," and tagged me, as if she didn't sit at my kitchen table and tell me to stop being dramatic when I cried about losing my job while pregnant. In the family group chat, they're rewriting history in real time. My cousin says, "We always knew Mara would stand up for herself." My mum types, "We raised a strong girl." My dad posts a thumbs up emoji like he's congratulating himself. I stare at it, and I feel that old familiar heat in my chest. Shame mixed with rage, because they're trying to climb onto the outcome without touching the pain. And I realize that this isn't just about Graham. It's about every person who watched me get hurt and decided it was easier to doubt me than to support me. So when I make the bold move in that conference room, when I push back the confidentiality clause and demand a neutral reference and refuse to be gagged, it's not just for me. It's for the version of me who sat at my kitchen table, freshly fired, pregnant, shaking, while my dad asked what I did wrong. We signed the agreement after 2 more hours of Graham's lawyer, basically wrestling his ego into submission. The final amount is enough that my lawyer whistles quietly when she reads it, which is honestly the closest I get to joy in that moment. It includes compensation, lost wages, emotional distress, and, my favorite part, my legal costs. Graham's lawyer insists on adding a clause that each party covers their own legal fees, because Graham has racked up a disgusting amount trying to fight. My lawyer shrugs like she doesn't care, because she already has what we came for. But I see the number on one invoice left open on his lawyer's laptop when he stands up. Just a glimpse. And my brain does the math automatically. His legal fees are basically the same as my remaining mortgage. When we walk out, cameras flash. I keep my face blank, because I'm not giving anyone a performance. A reporter asks, "Do you have anything to say to your former boss?" And I say, I hope companies learn from this, because I'm not stupid, and I'm not trying to get sued again. In the car, Daniel grips the steering wheel like he's holding back a scream. "You did it," he keeps saying. "You did it." I don't feel triumphant. I feel peeled open, like adrenaline has been carrying me, and now it's dropping me. When we get home, my baby is asleep on Daniel's chest, tiny fist curled like a comma. The house is quiet, and for the first time in months, the quiet doesn't feel scary. Then my dad calls. Of course he does. He calls like he has a right. Like he didn't disappear the minute supporting me became uncomfortable. I don't answer. I watch it ring out. My mum leaves a voicemail that starts with "sweetheart," in a voice I haven't heard since I was a kid, and ends with, "We're so proud." Daniel looks at me, waiting for my reaction. I sit there, feeling my pulse in my fingertips. The settlement money hits my account 2 days later, and I don't cry. I open my mortgage portal. I type in the full payout amount with hands that don't shake this time. I hit submit. The confirmation page pops up. Loan balance 0,000, and my chest does this weird lurch, like my body doesn't know how to hold relief. Later that afternoon, my lawyer forwards me something for your records. It's a copy of the final invoice Graham's law firm sent him. The total makes my stomach drop. It's obscene. It's more than some people's yearly salary. At the bottom, there's a note. Payment due within 14 days. Personal guarantee applies. No company shield. No corporate cushion. Just him, personally, paying for the war he insisted on starting. That's when it lands, fully, sharply, what the title of my life feels like now. The settlement paid off my house, and his legal fees too. Not because I paid them, because the exact same arrogance that made him fire a pregnant woman made him burn his own money trying to punish her. He could have settled early. He could have apologized. He could have done literally anything besides doubling down. Instead, he financed my freedom and his own downfall in the same breath. The family reaction is exactly what you'd expect. My cousins suddenly want to catch up. My aunt wants me to come to Christmas because family sticks together. My mum texts, "We should celebrate," like she didn't tell me to stay quiet. My dad texts, "Call me. Let's talk," as if we have something warm and honest to repair. And I realize I'm not angry in the wild way anymore. I'm just done. So I send one message to the family group chat. One, no paragraphs, no pleading, no explaining, because explaining is for people who care. I type, "Please don't contact me about the case or the money. If you weren't there when I was fired and scared and pregnant, you don't get to be here now." Then I leave the group. I block the numbers that keep calling. I don't announce it. I don't argue. I just close the door. That night, after the baby is fed and finally asleep, Daniel pours me a glass of water like I'm fragile. I sit on the couch and stare at the wall for a long time, letting my nervous system catch up. A notification pops up. Graham has posted a statement on the company website about miscommunication and valuing women in the workplace. Comments are off. Of course they are. Then, one last twist, because life loves a final little kick. Kira messages me a screenshot from LinkedIn. Graham's profile is updated. His title is gone. Under experience, it says former managing director, and below that, open to work. The board didn't protect him. The clients didn't forgive him. HR didn't die on that hill. The minute he became a liability instead of an asset, they did to him what he did to me. Cut him loose and pretend it's business. My dad calls again while I'm looking at the screenshot. It buzzes across the table like a demand. I pick it up, stare at his name, and my thumb hovers for half a second. Not because I miss him, because I know exactly what he's going to do if I answer. He'll try to soften the past. He'll try to claim a role. He'll try to tell me how proud he is, like pride erases cruelty. I hit decline. Then I open a new message, just to him, and I type one line. "Do not contact me again." I send it. I block him before he can reply. The house stays quiet. The mortgage is gone. Graham is paying invoices with his own name on them. My baby sleeps with a tiny sigh, like the world is safe. And for the first time since that HR meeting, I feel something that isn't panic or anger or shame. I feel a clean, hard boundary settling into place, like a lock clicking shut.